Exploitation Podcast Network.
In any case, you know this, you call yourself Lord of Thunder.
God of Thunder.
I've never met this man in my life.
He's my brother.
Adopted.
Is he any kind of a fighter?
You take this thing out of my neck and I'll show you.
Now listen to that, he's threatening me. Hey, Sparkles, here's the deal. If you want to get back to Asperg.
Asgard.
Any contender who defeats my champion, their freedom they shall win.
Fine, then point me in the direction of whoever's ass I have to kick.
That's what I call contender. Direction would be this way, Lord.
Blood and Black Rum Podcast presents THOR Ragnarok. Hey guys, welcome back to the Blood and Black Rum Podcast. I'm Ryan from coldsploitation.com and I'm joined by my co-host Martin.
How's it going?
And we're here to continue our legacy of doing superhero movies.
For a second, I thought you were going to say, continue, remake a Ween. I'm like, whoa.
No, we did that long enough. September through October was long enough for that sequence of remake a Ween. But
really didn't feel that long, though.
No, I know it didn't. We did part of it was because, like, unlike last year's Halloween festivities where we did, like, the same movie, like, every single time, it's basically like watching the same movie as we did Saw 1 through 7 the entire time. This year, we actually, like, did a lot of different things, so it's not like it felt the same all the time.
So, yeah, we're going from doing a pretty hard 180.
Yep, yeah, for sure. We are moving on from, like, doing 8 or 9 different horror movies to, going into superhero territory because November is apparently superhero month because we have 2 big releases for November for superheroes. Marvel has Thor Ragnarok, which is the film that we're doing tonight. And then we also have the Justice League coming up 2 weeks, I think.
You want to check?
Yeah, I think it's 2 weeks. I think it's November 21st or something like that. I'm drawing a blank now. I'm just looking it up right now. It is November 17th for a wide release. So
I gotta say, that is terrible timing. By the time Justice League gets out, I think Ragnarok still might, like, Justice League might win the day for opening week.
Right.
And then probably go back to Ragnarok.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Ragnarok's probably still going to be around in theaters lingering.
Well, definitely.
And
with how big of a hit it's been?
Yeah, I mean, because what are we at? When we're doing this, the 8th, when this releases, will be the 9th. So
it's been out for less than a week.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally going to be next week that it comes out, next Friday. So we're going to turn around and we're going to do this all over again in 2 weeks. So that will be, yeah, it's weird because that's going to be a fresh comparison, even though they're not like the same at all. We're still going to have that thing where it's like, well, was Thor Ragnarok better or was Justice League better?
I'd still say that'd be a hard comparison. I would if you'd have to throw back to like an Avengers film.
Yeah, I agree.
But,
which I have not seen either, so
I have
kind of lacking on that department.
But I mean, in this sense, I kind of feel bad for WB. At the same time, I don't. You really couldn't think of a different time to release Justice League. 2 weeks after
a huge Marvel franchise,
and then about little less than a month later, the new Star Wars. Yeah. Disney's fucking,
they're ripping up the charts for sure. They know what they're doing on a production level.
You couldn't think maybe we should wait till January, like when nothing, when. What does January bring us, film-wise? It's kind of a dead month.
Yeah.
It's leading to, Oscar season.
I mean, I guess what they're hoping for both of these movies, really, for Thor Ragnarok and Justice League, is that you're running into Thanksgiving. And a lot of people, surprisingly, do go see movies over the Thanksgiving holiday.
That makes sense now that, fucking shopping on Thursday instead of Friday is a thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge, especially, for like people who they're not really into the whole like go see your family holiday. It's more like, well, let's go do something as a family. Maybe it's if you don't have a big extended family or something like that, why not go see a movie that you wanted to see?
Too distant, like, far apart to,
to
make
to travel. Yeah, no, so it makes sense. I mean, people do go see movies. So I think what they're hoping for is that people will go out on Thanksgiving weekend and see, Justice League, and it could be a big, not just an opening day, which I'm sure they are imagining it's going to be a big opening for them that weekend. But then if you have Thanksgiving the next weekend, there's a bigger chance that they could do some damage at the box office there too. Now, I'm not saying like it's a crapshoot though when you release it so close to Thor Ragnarok, because what if people are like, no, over Thanksgiving weekend I want to go see Thor Ragnarok instead. I didn't get a chance to see it when it came out. I'm going to go now. So they are taking a risk by putting it out at the same time and like hoping.
And like I said, only like a couple of weeks after that, then you have the new Star Wars.
Yeah.
So it's literally like Disney's got you boxed in. With the way the production has been going for the the DC movies, like you might as well have just like pushed it back to January.
Yeah. I
don't know. I'm not a marketing.
I'm not either. So maybe they have good numbers to indicate this would be a great time to release it.
Yeah, well, they've done such a great job when it comes to their previous films.
figuring out how and what to do with those franchises. Yeah, for sure. All right, but we're not here to talk about Justice League yet, because that's for 2 weeks.
We're here to talk about something else.
What are we here to talk about?
We got some news.
Yeah, we do. Today, there was some big... Well, I guess it's not big news.
Wow,
yeah.
Big news.
Not big news, but news itself that dropped. That's been a long time coming.
Pertinent to us.
Yeah. We like to cover the new franchises, especially like the ones that are considered universes. For one thing, because they're pretty popular. So people like to listen to those. So not everybody, I'm saying, likes to listen to an obscure giallo episode. And then two, we did cover one of these films in the universe previously, and apparently it turns out that will be the only one in the universe. We're talking about the Universal Studios Dark Universe with all of the Universal monsters. We did The Mummy coming on, like, I think it was like 6 months ago or something like that when it released. And
April, May.
Yeah, something like that. And apparently that's going to be the only one. That's going to be it for the Dark Universe from the sound of things. They haven't really come out explicitly and said, yeah, the Dark Universe is dead. But it really sounds like everybody's moving on to bigger and better things. The producers, they really seem to be moving on to different projects that are going to take up a lot of their time. And one of the biggest things that's, I think, is pretty funny that you read in all of the articles about this is that they have reported that Universal created this like big studio on set that has like, it was designed for the Universal Dark Universe, has like the monsters out front. It was like clearly designed with this in mind. And now it's sitting vacant, lights off, empty, no one using it. Fucking waste of money to on like a showboat that never came about.
They'll ship it down to Florida for the...
Yeah, for like Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights. They already have a cafe.
They'll throw it in there like with like TNA Impact down there, Global Force Wrestling.
Yeah, yeah, and they already have a cafe like that, so they don't need maybe LA, maybe or wherever that one, Hollywood, the Universal Studios Hollywood that has it. I don't know.
Oh, is there a Universal?
Yeah,
Hollywood?
there is another one. Yeah, in California, but
well, I mean, I'm saddened by this. When you texted me this, because to be honest, I haven't seen anything about it yet. I haven't seen any news about it. Mm-hmm. I'm saddened by it because the idea of the Dark Universe, it's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's fun.
Take the Universal's most iconic monsters, and I am stealing something. Well, not stealing, because I'm going to be crediting it, but James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd, pointed out that essentially in the 1930s and 40s, the Universal monsters are kind of the original, continuity, like
the original universe.
Yeah, because you had them like, Abbott and Costello meet up, and then like all the cross-ups, with like the monsters and stuff. So
they seem silly now, but it was pretty cool back then because you did have all those crossovers. Yeah, them meeting each other.
Yeah, you had that, and so it's funny that 70 years later they would be like, oh, everyone else is doing that, so we should do it. Which again, I don't fault them for. It's because it is a good idea. You've been sitting on all those monsters for years. Haven't done anything with them, just for the fact that monster movies really don't.
And they seem cartoonish now, but that doesn't mean they have to be the same characters that they were in those original films. They don't have
exactly
to be as...
it could use a modern remake and retelling, and it leaves a lot of great potential on seeing a modern day Dracula film or a modern day Frankenstein film, and how they can or Invisible Man, and what they could do with that. And it's the idea, it's great, and they could have done so well with it. But they fucked The Mummy up so bad. And not only that, what a weird choice for the first film.
The Mummy's a weird choice for sure. Weird that they would go with another action Universal monster movie, because they've already tried that previously with Van Helsing.
But that's been almost 15 years now.
No, I know, but I'm just saying it didn't work the first time. What made you think that it would work again?
It could work, because the idea of Van Helsing could work. You could do an action Van Helsing film. Or something I'd probably more like to see, a more grounded Van Helsing film. One of the reasons why when it comes to the Hammer horror films that I love, the franchise is when Peter Cushing's portraying Van Helsing, his portrayal is great, and it's more theatrical, but it's also more grounded.
Yeah.
And so I could see that being done if they did a more grounded horror thriller film of Van Helsing, that'd be good. But because action films are kind of thing, we got to make it actiony. So instead of doing The Mummy more as a horror film, it's going to be more like Brendan Fraser's Mummy, except it's going to have none of the nostalgia and none of the quirkiness and campiness that made that movie, to our generation, a exciting, fun film to watch.
Yeah, I think a better idea for the Universal Monsters films would have been to not go the over-the-top action route and try to make it into a superhero film with Universal Monsters, because that's just not...
Having Dr. Jekyll be,
that's not going to work on a fan level, because most of them are not anticipating seeing a superhero movie that just has Universal Monsters in it. I would have liked to have seen them go a more traditional horror route and see where that takes them. And there's still the opportunity, if they want to revamp the Dark Universe and try again with
Dark Universe 2.0.
Dark Universe with an actual dark storyline rather than something more akin to a superhero film. Because we were talking about this when we went to see Thor Ragnarok in theaters. I've got to say, I'm starting to feel a little bit fatigued from seeing all these superhero movies. I can't say that I was super excited to be at a movie screening yet another superhero film, because, as you said, it feels like we just saw Doctor Strange in theaters.
And we did. It was a year ago.
Right.
Which, by the way, I looked up online. The dates, November 3rd was the release date for Doctor Strange last year. November 4th, release date for Thor Ragnarok.
Right, yeah.
So it's
I mean, they're right in line with each other, but I'm feeling fatigue with superhero films in general, and I think that is Dark Universe, that came way too late. I mean, at this point...
You missed the boat.
Right, we're on to we're coming towards the climax of superhero films, and possibly a shifting down from having those consistently every 6 months we're gonna have a new one, or in some cases 3 months we're gonna have a new one. I think we're at a downturn there, and it's just not.
Well, the returns
feasible.
don't show up, but I mean, at least I am, and again, we both like superhero films too. So,
and I would say, and I have nothing against Marvel films, and as you'll see when we talk about Thor Ragnarok, nothing against Thor Ragnarok either, in terms of actually disliking those types of films, but I'm just in that kind of feeling where it's first of all, I know it's going to be another 2-hour affair in the theater.
Yeah, it's never on.
Right, you know what I mean? And then it's lengthy, it's time consuming. No matter how easily they try to make it for audiences to fit into the timeline and fit into the events, there's still that continuity issue that comics have, that you have to kind of be in that mindset, like, oh yeah, that's right, in Doctor Strange that happened, in in the Age of Ultron this happened, and you have to like have that mindset, even if they are making it like dumbed down rather than like comics where it's like, follow this or we don't want you reading, you know what I mean? So, but you still have that, and I think we're in a downswing here, even though, like you said, the returns are not showing that. I feel like it may eventually come to pass that it's like, okay, people are kind of getting sick of that.
Well, as I was telling you too, at the theater, I'm a big Star Wars fan. I don't want a Star Wars film every year. Like I'm excited. My excitement level for The Last Jedi, Episode 8, is like very like.
Well, it's
I'm
too, because
I'm happy. I'm happy. Like, yeah, I get to see Mark Hamill. It's like it's gonna be cool, and because I finally watched the new trailer, because I've been trying to stay away from that stuff because I want to go in, blank slate on it, and on it. But even still, it's like I do not want this especially if I know it's gonna be like J.J. Abrams, I don't want it.
It's being like really pushed into your face
because next year
constant.
It's gonna be a Han Solo movie. Yep. I don't want a movie about Han Solo. I'm sorry, I love Han Solo. He's one of my favorite Star Wars characters. I don't need it.
The next one's Chewbacca. Chewbacca gets
it's just, especially after Rogue One, yeah, I didn't care for Rogue One, but even still, at least when the prequels were coming out, they were spaced out 3-4 years, so you weren't getting hammered with them.
Right, there was a long gap between them, and
in the gap between Episode 1 and Episode 6, was so long. Of course, people. I mean, I didn't really get to feel it then because I was 9 years old, and I didn't, have a deep love for Star Wars. It's something we go see. Pod racing, yay!
Yeah.
But now it's I don't want this. If this is going to be the next 7 years, a Star Wars film every year, I might just probably tune out. Yeah. Just because it's
it's getting to be too much again. Just it's
one of the charms of being a fan of the Bond films. It's
luckily they don't come out all
3 to 6 years is your wait period. Yeah. If I had to go sit through a Bond film every year, I'm sorry, Daniel, I can't do it. You're not getting my money, especially after Skyfall, and not Skyfall, because Skyfall is fucking amazing. After Spectre, and you squandered that brilliant opportunity with Christoph Waltz as Blofeld.
Yeah.
That's the topic for a different day, different show.
That's true. All right, let's take a break real quick. We'll come back. We'll talk about some beer. Then we'll go into Thor Ragnarok in detail. So stay tuned.
Hey, do you like jokes?
I love jokes.
Do you like video games?
Yeah, I love video games.
Do you like geek culture and really cool awesome shit?
Well, fuck yeah, I do.
Do you like murder?
What?
Check out Game Over, Game On. They're on podcast services around the globe.
What did you say?
Also, follow them on YouTube under The Go-Go Show.
It said something about murder.
Smash that motherfucking like button.
No, it was definitely murder. You said murder.
No, I didn't. And if you get lost, go to GameOverGameOn.com. It keeps the demons away.
The fuck are you talking about?
Hope to hear from you soon.
You will not. You will not hear from me soon. I'm calling the police.
No, you won't.
All right, so we've got a new beer on the show today, and it's actually a new beer that's recently just released. Getting good reviews, too, surprisingly.
Because it's from a beer brand we don't talk about on this show.
Yeah, it's one of those beers that has fallen out of late thanks to the craft beer boom. And it's also widely regarded as piss water in many, many different places. We're obviously talking about Budweiser. And
old Anheuser-Busch.
I know if they wanted to use this as a sponsor or something, they wouldn't like that opening phrase. Well, but we're actually going to say some good things about it.
Well, you know today. What? If they were giving me money, I'd be going here saying dilly dilly, drinking a Bud Light,
Yeah, that's true.
My character's not for sale. Dilly dilly.
But Budweiser, they just released a new beer. It's called the 1933 Prohibition Repeal Amber Lager. It's really a mouthful of a phrase. I can't remember it all the time, but it's a amber lager, 6.1% alcohol content beer.
Which is high for a lager.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's high for lagers, high for Budweiser. They don't generally get like that unless you're drinking
The Bud Platinum.
The Bud Platinum, which is that's what that's made for basically. Do you want something at a cheap price with a high alcohol content? Drink
I
this
would
Bud
even say
Platinum.
Bud's cheap.
Yeah, that's
regular
true.
regular
Bud's
Bud and
not.
Bud Light, it's like $12.99, $13.99, 12-pack.
Yeah, I think you can get better deals.
That's why I think that's why people
for better
around
beer.
here don't drink. Because I worked the convenience stores around here for quite a while. I know what the common man drinks around here.
Yeah.
It's not Budweiser.
Yeah, I think
there's
you can
one
get-
guy. There's one guy that would consistently come in. He'd buy Bud. And I'm just talking about Bud Heavy.
Right.
If we're talking about regular, like a regular, just not light beer, everyone bought Busch. Everyone bought, again, it's Anheuser-Busch, but it's, their lower quality beer. Everyone bought Busch, and then if it was light beer, then everyone around here drinks Bud Light.
I would have, it's kind of funny because when you go out to bars sometimes, I see a lot of people getting Bud Light out at bars. And to me, it's like, why? What is the point? What's the purpose of going to a bar and getting a bottle of Bud Light?
I mean, to be fair, because we're not in, like, college anymore, so, like, when we don't really go out to the bars that often anymore. So when we go out to a bar, it's like,
yeah.
usually like, oh, like, let's see like what kind of different things they have.
Right.
We don't often go, like, it was just last week we went to a fucking bar just to play pool
Yeah.
and drink like Miller Lite.
Yeah.
So it's not something we do that often.
No, but I see a lot of people getting Bud Light, and I always question it. But maybe that's like their night out, where they're like getting something schmancy, rather than Busch, they're getting a Bud Light. I don't know. I'm not judging. I'm seriously, honestly questioning it. Are you a person that goes out to get Bud Light at the bar? Please let me know why you do it. I don't understand it. It's not like it's something special.
Well, what'd you order in college? I mean, we're not a college town at all, so that doesn't count.
To be honest with you, when I was in college, I would get the Berkshire Brewing Company beers, so craft beer.
In Oswego at Old City Hall, which, by the way, fun fact, I don't know if it's still true or not, but Oswego, I think when I went there, had the most bars per capita. It's a town of like 20,000 people. It's got like 50 bars.
It's pretty awesome because when we were searching for a bar on Halloween night, there were none to be found that were open.
Well,
9 o'clock on Halloween night, none to be found.
yeah, well, it's great. That's why we have a whole pub crawl, Bridge Street Run at the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean,
run all the bars on Bridge Street.
I'm not asking for our town to have like 70 bars that are open 24/7, but seriously, just a few that are like nice and fancier that are open later than 8 o'clock at night.
Well, it'd be 2 because that's last call.
Yeah, I know.
But anywho, when I was in college, I mean, it'd be Miller Genuine Draft because there you could buy a mug for like $6. It's an 8-ounce mug, and for 50 cents on Thursday nights, you can get your mug filled. So you'd go there on Thursday nights for mug night, and what they filled you up with Miller Genuine Draft. And if I wasn't drinking that, it was Labatt.
Right. So not bad. Not bad choices, I would say.
Those were the two things. That's why sometimes I have like a hankering for Genuine Draft. It's like, oh man, I want to relive the glory days.
But the 1933 Prohibition Repeal beer is an amber lager that is surprisingly drinkable. I wasn't expecting much when you said that you had it and that it was in a 12-pack for one thing. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, they do have it in 6 and 12 packs.
I was like, wow, really taking a risk there with a 12-pack.
I mean, because the thing was price. Price was
Right.
like $12.99, $13.99 for the 12.
Cheaper to
The
go
6-pack was like $8.99
Yeah,
or something.
might,
So it's
might
like,
as well go big and get the extra, even if you don't like it that much.
I'll still drink
At
it.
least you can drink it, yeah. But surprisingly, this is a tasty beer. It's well crafted.
They said it's from one of their old recipes from back in the day, like right after Prohibition ended.
I can see that because it does have, like, it's. I would still say it's fairly simple. It's not like gonna wow anybody with the ingredients or anything like that. It's very simple. It's hops, roasted malts, and it brings out sort of a caramely taste to it. But still, it's simple and yet good. I would say that it's probably the best Budweiser beer that I've ever had, and that's including like Bud Light, regular Bud Heavy, Bud Platinum, and like some of the other like small time buds that came out that were like sort of their experimental versions.
Black Crown.
Black Crown.
They still do Black Crown?
I don't know if they do it anymore, but that one I'm talking about.
What did you compare it like better to like the Shock Top. I mean, it's not the same style, but Shock Top's owned by them, or the Natty brand.
Yeah, something that's a more along the lines of like pseudo craft beer. You know what I mean? Like almost hitting that area, but not quite. I would say that it's good, and I think that even people who like craft beer, who are kind of turned off by Budweiser in general, they'll like this beer. It's getting good reviews from people who are like that, who really turn to craft beer rather than like big business beers in America and domestic beers. They're liking it. They're enjoying like the way that Budweiser has been able to kind of get back to basics, I think.
You're right. It definitely does have like a class, like what I would imagine a beer from the 30s would taste.
Yeah, I've got no experience with that.
I know, but if I had to imagine a beer from like the early 20th century, it wouldn't taste like a Bud Today.
No, it wouldn't be
or
like
a Miller
super light,
bubbly. It's still
Right.
You'd still have elements of the malts and hop. Like
I would
you would
say-
be able to taste in that even though it's a lager, you would still taste the malt and hops. Where
for
if you
one
drink a
thing-
Bud now, all you taste is like I taste rice,
Right.
and water.
For one thing, shit wasn't easy or cheap at that time, so you wouldn't want to filter out all of the ingredients that you're putting in, right? I mean, because that's basically what light beers are now.
Why put the hops in if you're not going to
Exactly, like because you're filtering most of that out, and you're turning it basically into like a watery brine, and that wasn't the case back then. They would actually want to taste it. They would want a alcohol percentage in there because that was the point, right?
Especially after Prohibition ending, like
A lot of people weren't drinking beer and they're like, I'm savoring this one. At that time, it wasn't like, so yeah, you can understand like they would want something a little bit more bulky, something heavier. And the Amber Lager is that. It's heavier. It's like cloudy or red on the red scale, reddish amber. hue
which
to
I
it.
haven't poured it out yet into a glass. When I go home, I will. But I was reading like on Beer Advocate, which is one of the reasons why I went with it, because Beer Advocate, though I don't put much stock in the reviews because they're the pitchfork of beer review.
Yeah.
Absolutely
No, I agree,
contrived. Like people just. That's where we come with the famous when we talked about before on here, Guinness's generous ale, and guy dissecting figs and plum and allspice from this wonderful beer that you can't be found at all. And how would anyone know what allspice just tastes like? I've never gone on my way to do that, but people were saying like it's getting really good reviews on there. So as I was reading them, I was seeing kind of what people were saying, and people were saying it's actually a really good amber lager. It's not that bad. It pours really good. It looks great in a glass. So I was one of the reasons why I got it. I was gonna get it eventually because I was intrigued. So it was more of me like when I bought it. It was more of me like when I was getting it. I'm like, I want to know if Anheuser-Busch was paying these people to write these reviews online. Like, here's $30, write a good review, or if people actually thought it was pretty good. Right. I agree. It's a really good beer. One, amber lagers aren't that really big of a style.
Yeah, you get amber ales, you get red ales.
The only
you don't really get an amber lager.
Mainstream amber lagers, Yingling.
Yeah,
and
that's like pushing it.
And that's like when I was like in college, like, hey, I like Yingling because it tastes like a real beer because it's an amber lager. But now, like, compared to others, now it's like, yeah. But it's kind of, I would say, like, at least around here, a unique style. It's not done enough. You definitely get the taste of the malts in it. It's very malty, very, very caramely.
It's because of that toasted malt nature that's in there.
And also, you still get a nice hot bitterness to it. Not like, it's not overwhelming, like you're drinking a pale ale or an IPA, but you do get, like, at the end of it, a nice hot, the hot presence, the bitterness to it. And it's really clean and crisp. As you point out, the only thing I'd say that kind of is a detraction from it is that it does have like a tinny taste to it, slight tinny taste to it.
It's like tinny, metally. I think it has to do with the roasted malts that give it that caramely taste to it. Sometimes when they're roasted a bit too much, they kind of will come off as sort of metally, and I think that's where that comes from. It's just got that little extra metal,
rusty.
Yeah, sort of like you licked like a like a nickel or something like that.
Yeah. It's not as bad as like the Heineken can.
Right, no, it's not as bad as what it sounds like, but it there is something there. It's a very like somewhat metally taste at the end. So that's the only down point to that, which, you know, but other than that, I think it's pretty good. I think it's good too if you're looking for something with a higher alcohol content. It's at 6.1%. It's pretty big. So, you know, it's
Man, that's what she said.
it's a good I think it's good all around. I think if you're, you know, and it's pretty good for the winter too. So I think they released it.
It's a good fall and winter.
Yeah,
beer.
I think they released it at the right time, honestly.
And
it comes in stubby bottles.
And not only that, at least here in Vermont and I believe in New Hampshire, it comes with a rebate coupon to save $5 on a ham or a turkey.
Yeah, to be honest,
wow,
it's a great thought. It's a great thought. But I have to say that's a lot of work for that rebate to give only $5 off
a fucking turkey or ham.
You got to mail it in, so that's going to cost you a stamp on its own. It takes a while to fill that thing out because it's pretty lengthy. You have to mail it in.
UPC code.
You have to wait like probably a week to hear back that they received it, and then you get your rebate. I mean, that's a lot of work to get a $5 off a ham or a turkey. But I guess if you're like really itching for a ham and you're like, well, you know, that's kind of ridiculous. We don't need a ham. Well, you can mail in this rebate and get $5
Christmas
off.
is coming.
Yeah,
Get your
Christmas
hams.
is coming. Yeah.
Oh.
Give them for Christmas presents.
Oh, I forgot. I think your family's a turkey family, aren't they?
We did lasagna for Christmas.
Oh, yeah. I remember that was a great debate because it blew my mind when I found out people eat turkey for Christmas. I'm like, why? You just had it for Thanksgiving.
We used to do ham, so... No.
That's
a good question because I think we did actually used to do turkey because we do turkey Thanksgiving, turkey for Christmas, and ham for New Year's. So I don't know.
Our family's always ham for Christmas.
Yeah, I don't know. You're right.
My mind was always ham or duck.
You've had duck for
my family? No, but ducks is a thing. I pick.
Yeah, duck's a thing. Like
I pick it at work.
Christmas Carol's about duck.
I was saying the only time we're shipping out from the distribution center duck is around Thanksgiving and Christmas time.
That's kind of surprising because I feel like duck's not really considered. It used to be, but I don't really feel like it's considered much of a delicacy at this point.
It's delicious though.
I mean, it's greasy though.
But it's good. It's like it's turkey, but it's it's just dark meat. It's delicious.
I feel like it's not as considered as like high end as turkey would be.
Because people are Philistines and they're like, I want the white meat turkey. It's like, well, you eat that bland, you eat the bland white meat. I'll eat all the dark meat and be happy.
Yeah, I prefer dark meat as well. Actually, now that I've had it,
it's got the fat in it,
and it's tastier.
Yeah,
it's tastier.
That's why. But
all right, we got to head into Thor Ragnarok because I think we're gonna have quite a bit to say. Normally our superhero episodes run long anyways for whatever reason. Maybe because every fucking superhero movie is over 2 hours. Well, so there's a lot to talk about.
Who knows when Infinity War comes out, maybe they'll make it 4 hours long and it'll be like, Lawrence of Arabia or like Cleopatra's going to have like an overture and an intermission, halfway through to like...
Well, I will say that we went out to see Thor Ragnarok on Monday night. And everybody who listens to us, that our town is very small. We have a small locally run theater. It's not like an AMC or anything like that. So we did go out to see it, and there was only 2 other people in our theater. I fully expected. We went to the late show too at 8 o'clock. I fully expected there to be more people than that for sure.
For like the 7 o'clock show, there probably wasn't a lot because the parking lot was pretty empty.
And it was pretty surprising though. But that's not to say that Thor is not doing well in other places because our area is a little bit different. But I was surprised that there were not very many people there. So in some ways, that does cloud your experience of a film because I do sometimes get off on like seeing how other not get off, but I like seeing how other people react to the film.
I think a crowded theater would do a much better service for this film, as we'll talk about.
Yeah, I think so. But I just wanted to bring up that our theater was pretty empty, and it I kind of was surprised by it, but
as I said before, I haven't really gone to a movie off the top of my head that I can remember being really packed. Like Star Wars Episode 3, I can remember being like fucking packed when I saw it.
the most packed movie theater that I can think of off the top of my head, Saw 2. That's the last time that I went to a theater and was like, whoa, there's a lot of people here. Saw 2. So that's a long time ago. But anyway, I digress. So Thor Ragnarok. I want to start off by saying that neither Martin or I have seen the other Thor movies or Age of Ultron, so we're already at a disadvantage there. However, we are a good reference point for those who don't really know the Marvel Universe very well, because we have now seen Captain America Civil War and Thor Ragnarok without really knowing the previous films in the series. So
And as at least with, like I said to you, at least with Civil War, I knew everything that was going on because I knew
like the actual storyline behind Civil War.
and not only that, like that's pretty easy to follow.
Right, yeah, exactly. But I think we're a good reference point because we can say, hey, we watched Thor Ragnarok, we haven't seen the other Thors, and we could still follow along. You know what I mean? So you kind of have that idea of like, how good is it as a standalone
Do you
film?
really want to listen to a podcast of people who've seen every fucking MCU film and dissected it?
And they're knowledgeable about things?
I wasn't saying that. I was saying saying like that they can like dissect like in scene 30, in this second
Yeah,
there's a cameo of
There are other podcasts to listen to for that. We are not that. We're gonna have a much more lenient approach to the film in terms of like how it relates to the comics or how it relates to the rest of the MCU. That's not really our goal in reviewing Thor Ragnarok. More so that we just want to talk about it as a standalone film in this Marvel universe. Like, how does it do as a film?
And we're DC fans, so.
All right, so story-wise, Thor Ragnarok really picks up right after the Age of Ultron and Thor 2 in terms of like the conflict. And so I think that what happens within the first moments of Thor Ragnarok as a storyline is a lot of like catching up exposition-wise in terms of like we need to catch some of the audience up to where we are now, and we have to kind of figure out like where we are in the canon before we really get into the main event. However, I feel like we are dropped really quickly into Thor Ragnarok's central conflict, and for some people, it might not even feel like we're in that conflict before it actually like blossoms and hits you full force that, hey, this is happening. Like we're going to throw you into this and run with it as the rising action takes place. How did you feel about like the opening scenario where we kind of are already in like first of all, Thor's already like in medias res. He's already in an action scene, basically. He's captured. And we've kind of moved right from Thor 2 into the new conflict in Thor Ragnarok. What do you think about that?
I mean, the opening exposition I was like fine with, like, so I haven't, like I said, I haven't seen the previous Thors. I haven't seen Age of Ultron. So why Thor's captured in like some prison cell on some different dimension or plane in the universe, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I'm fine with it. And then you get to see the demon god of Surtur, voiced by the impeccable Clancy Brown.
I did not know that, but
I did. I right off the
recognized it.
Because he's got the a pretty distinct voice. So
he does, but I wasn't really. I guess I wasn't even thinking about it.
No, you the first time you hear Tom, it's like that's Clancy coming off of Freddy.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I was fine with it. My problem was, especially the opening scene, was like the comedic aspects of it. Mm-hmm. The whole, as he's captured and they're expositing what Ragnarok is, and for those who don't know, in just general Norse mythology, Ragnarok's the Norse version of Armageddon,
the destruction of
Asgard.
Yeah.
And in this, it involves Surtur, this, demon god.
It's like almost like a devilish demon god, fiery skull horns, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, he's been trapped where he is by Odin, and when Odin dies, if he's able to bring his helmet to the great never dying flame, he'll be rise as tall as a mountain and be destroy Asgard. And as it's being exposited, it's fine. You have this Thor still chained up and he's swinging around. He's like, oh, hold on. You gotta swing back around. You're supposed to laugh at, it's funny. I didn't find it funny though. It's because it's like it's
they didn't cater right to your comedy. You didn't.
No,
it's funny.
It's not that comedy style doesn't work for me. It's like it's like, okay, this is something Paul Rudd should be doing. I know Chris Hemsworth is also not a bad comedic actor.
Yeah,
actually,
as we
Ghostbusters. I know, as we talked about in Ghostbusters, he's one of the best parts about it. He's pretty funny in it. But I mean, just in the context of that scene, that doesn't make any sense. I know he's supposed to be showing off, he's cocky because he's the god of thunder. He's not threatened and fearful of the situation that he's in. Being threatened by this, demigod. I mean, even though Thor's technically, a god, he's not threatened by him and, doesn't feel afraid. But I mean, at the same time, it's like, right. I think it's unnecessary. I think the reason that whole part's done is the fact that it's setting up this isn't going to be like the previous Thor films. It's going to be a lighthearted romp,
giving Chris Hemsworth a little bit more of a chance to show off his comedic side,
make Thor have more of a character instead of just being I have a hammer
and more likable and stuff. Yeah. I agree. I think that maybe they do go Taika Waititi kind of goes a little overboard sometimes on the comedy aspect of the film. Really, stretching it out a bit. He is known for some of his comedy works, also some of his horror stuff from his previous direction. But I think it may go a little bit overboard in terms of how much comedy it brings to the film. But in the intro, my biggest concern going into the film from the introduction was that it never really feels like the central conflict starts. It always feels we're in one.
Well, it's not even that. That's not even the central conflict,
right? No,
because that doesn't get brought up until the very end.
So, no, but I think my bigger concern, and I guess we can kind of work through this as we talk about it, is that and just a FYI, if you're listening and you don't really know our podcast, spoilers alert. Spoilers are going to be strewn throughout this, so just keep that in mind as we move forward.
That should be a given.
It should be a given, sure, but I'll throw it out there anyway. I think as we move through Thor Ragnarok, there's never really a starting point for a conflict. It's never in other movies it becomes clear. You have an expository moment, meet the characters, figure out who's who, what's going on, maybe just define them a little bit, development. Then all of a sudden there's a central conflict. It occurs, it pops up. But I think in terms of Marvel movies of late, and I'm not speaking of things like Iron Man because I've never seen it. I don't know about it. I don't know about the first two Thors. But of late, from the Marvel movies that we've seen, like Doctor Strange in this one, there's never a moment where it's aha! There's the central conflict. That's what pops out to me. This is occurring and they're working up to it and there's going to be some climax with it. I feel like they don't sit well within the central rising actions storyline. Okay,
so you being a writer, I'll have you break this down.
Yeah.
Break this down more, because as I told you while watching this film, the story seemed this should not be a movie, because it's literally jumping constantly throughout the story, jumping all over the place and not having a certain rhythm to the story.
It's episodic, is I think what you mean.
I mean, I wouldn't use episodic because it's not.
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, it's episodic because, and I think part of it comes from the comic book nature
of it, like telling a chapter and then like jumping to something. I mean, that makes sense, but like, so it's constantly throughout this film, like it feels like the story, like not the overarching plot, which is to stop Ragnarok from happening, the end of Asgard.
Yeah,
that's the central plot. But it seems like how they get there, they're constantly jumping around, and it doesn't feel like this is a 2.5 hour movie. It feels like this should be like a couple of like just like TV, like a Netflix series, like where they break it down. So even though I think the plot of Thor versus what ends up being Thor versus his sister, the goddess of death, which is
Hela, played by Cate Blanchett.
Why is that not to you seem like that's the actual central plot line?
Oh, in terms of like what? I mean,
because it clearly, like, obviously the whole Surtur coming back to bring Ragnarok, that's background,
right?
Like,
it was set up in the beginning and then it doesn't come back towards the end
because that's
like a device.
It's essentially a MacGuffin.
It's a Deus Ex Machina, really. It really is, because that's like, it's almost like it's set up at the beginning and it's like, this is the only way to finish this film. That's it. That's the only thing that can possibly happen. But no, I see what you're saying. So you're asking, why does it feel like, even though like really the central conflict is Thor versus Hela, and Hela versus basically all of Asgard, because she wants to control Asgard and the entire universe, basically. She wants to take over whatever she can using the Bifrost, which is their transportation system, like portal system that they use to jump throughout the universe. Why doesn't it feel like that's the central conflict? And I would say there's two things that really make that point really miss the point of like Hela versus Thor. One of them is just that, like you said, this film is very episodic in nature. It's very all over the place in terms of like what's happening, and
because a lot of the time also is not, and sorry to interrupt, but a lot of the time is not actually spent between Thor and Hela.
Yeah, there's we have that's one of my main points is that Hela, for the importance of her character and how much she's supposed to be a part of the development of the story, she's very, very rarely seen in this film. Cate Blanchett gets very little time on screen comparatively, because this is a 2 hour and 10 minute film, and I would say she probably gets like 15 minutes at most to be on screen doing her thing. So that really leaves very little time for Taika Waititi to give any sort of development behind her character. All we really know is what we're told. So we're told by Thor and by Odin she's really strong, and we kind of take that at face value. She's really strong. I mean, we see it a little bit because she can command like spikes from her will and
that kill people
and like draw things from the sea and stuff. But we don't really, I mean, there's nothing really that really cements that. A lot of it too is just exposition that we're given. Hela explains how Odin used to be. They used to be a team. Her and Odin used to like just run rampant across the universe.
They conquering
whatever and making Asgard into what it is today. But we don't really ever see anything like that. It's all left to plot devices to really show, okay, this is Hela as a character. I think that Cate Blanchett does a pretty good job of working with that character. She has some good moments comedically.
She's Cate Blanchett.
Yeah.
As I told you, like when the way she's portraying her, to me, just comes off as just be Cate Blanchett.
Right, exactly. And I think she does some good moments with the script, because the script does try to make her a dark character. I would almost, in a weird way, she's reminiscent of Maleficent. Her
in Maleficent. I can't even say it.
Angelina Jolie's Maleficent.
Her in Enchantress.
Similar. Yeah.
From Suicide Squad.
And I don't know if that's the right thing to do with Thor. I understand they wanted to make it a little bit more lighthearted, a little bit more comedic, but I don't think that big bads have to be comedic at all, really, because that really takes the piss out of like
especially if they're
what
supposed,
they're
to be
doing.
supposed to be the goddess of death.
Right, because she has so many moments.
Shouldn't be cracking wise. She just be like, I'm here to bring death and doom. Just show to it. I'm here to bring doom to you all. And like maybe Thor cracks like a funny line. And she's like, I ain't having any of this shit. And like bitch smacks.
I think that's one of the bigger missteps with Thor Ragnarok is that they don't give Hela enough time to be the main antagonist. Because let's say like you watch the first hour and a half of this film and then for whatever reason you had to leave. You had a massive diarrhea. You had to leave. You would almost think that the rest of the film had to do with the different planet that
Space
Thor,
gladiators.
that Thor finds himself on, where there's a Colosseum. He's got to fight the Hulk. You would think that the main idea is Thor gets off this planet, and like maybe the next Thor movie is him battling Hela. There's so much time spent.
That's actually a good idea because like to be a little Englishy majory like you. One of the things that's kind of weird is the way Thor his character builds throughout this. Like so in his initial conflict with Hela, his hammer Mjolnir is destroyed by her easily. She just destroys it, and treats him like he's him and Loki like they're dog shit. They're not even within a class close to him.
Right.
How does he grow from that? It's just he sees visions of Odin.
Right, yeah.
And so it's not like he really
he regains his electricity powers, his sparks.
Yeah, because the idea is like he's supposed to, at the end he's supposed to be finally figures out it's not Mjolnir that gives him the power. He has the power within himself. He just needs to know how to do it. But that's like just tacked on at the end because it's like as he's having that final fight with Hela, and obviously in all these fights, you always have the protagonist struggle and, get their ass kicked and have to have, some kind of revelation during the fight that makes them able, I can overcome this. Mm-hmm. Plot device 101. But still.
And it's mostly in themselves.
Yeah. But so.
The ability's always there.
So the stuff that he's doing in between has, no bearing except, how do we get
it's
back?
Really a means to an end.
How do we get back to Asgard? Essentially, after we they were in the Bifrost, and then Loki and Thor got thrown on the Bifrost and onto this distant planet, and maybe we're breaking this down too much, where people are probably like, just fucking go with it.
I think there are some interesting aspects to them going to this planet, to the trash planet. And one of them is that I think it's one of the bigger elements of Thor is that Thor becomes more of a buddy superhero film like Avengers, like Captain America Civil War, and Guardians of the Galaxy being one of the most prominent thematic elements that really resonates here is that Thor Ragnarok is almost going a Guardians of the Galaxy route, and that they're making a side group from the Avengers, and that Thor's working with Hulk, and Thor's working with this new woman. She's a Valkyrie from Asgard, and they're forming another team. And I think that's a little bit different from Thor's of the first Thor films, because he's more of a solo guy, and he even has to form an alliance with Loki, although he doesn't really like to, and Loki constantly is, causing mischief behind the scenes. The final moments...
Well, he is the god of mischief.
He is the god of mischief. The final moments really find Loki and Thor working together, and I think that's an important aspect of Thor Ragnarok, which is why we need the scenes where they go to the planet, fight Hulk, become allies, and all that stuff.
If you know anything about the films, though, somehow we're gonna all know, Loki just fucked them at the end of Ragnarok.
Yeah, no, I know, that's, and I agree with you in that the whole trip to the trash planet.
I was saying, because at the when he goes into Odin's vault and he looks at the Tesseract cube, and he touches it.
Yeah,
it's obviously going to come into play later. you know, because it's been like the MacGuffin they've been chasing, you know, he's been after, you know, for several films, but again, it's not a flaw. I don't I'm not saying it's a bad thing because again, it's within his character. I'm fine with it. And I'm not saying the whole adventure on the trash planet is a bad thing because it's not. It's just the beats and the pace of this film and how they kind of get from point A to point B are just kind of like, it doesn't flow like a film. It's the pacing and how they get to where they need to get is unconventional, and I don't think is necessarily fit for a film.
I agree. I think a lot of it does just feel like random elements happening all at once, and I would argue that films are tending to go this way more often than not, like just random things.
Tarantinoing it, just like
random things just happening to these people until they get to like the epiphany that they need. I don't know if it's a good or bad thing.
I don't think it's a good thing.
I tend to prefer that they don't go this because, like you're saying, I totally understand. Like the planet aspect of it, like them going there, just seems to be so unnecessarily random. Perfect example: going to meet Doctor Strange. Fucking random as all hell, not necessary, just so that he can direct them to where Odin is.
But it makes sense because if you've seen Doctor Strange and you know that he's the wizard, you know, the Sorcerer Supreme, and that he's trying now to by the end of Doctor Strange now he's trying to keep a tab on all the otherworldly mystical beings that could harm Earth. After what we learned from watching Doctor Strange. The only problem, so I'm fine with that. Like, so it's basically like, hey, don't forget, Doctor Strange is also going to come into play, like, when we get to Infinity War and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm fine with that. The problem I had was, by the end of, the whole process of Doctor Strange, of him when we reviewed Doctor Strange, of Stephen Strange becoming Doctor Strange and just
figuring out all
his
of
powers.
His magic powers.
Yeah, now it seems like no time has passed, and he's literally like
perfectly mastered every single thing.
Yeah, by the end of Doctor Strange, he was like competent,
he was good. He was good, but like, did he really know how to do all of this shit? No.
But now, like so we're assuming time has passed. But
I feel like I agree in some ways that having the rest of the crew for the upcoming Infinity War is a good thing. However, I do feel like they strong-armed Doctor Strange in here. Like, it doesn't really feel organic to the plot. It just feels like, hey, we need Doctor Strange in here. Benedict Cumberbatch needs a paycheck. He's been requesting one. So
Sherlock's not getting paid.
So put him in it. I don't know that it's like, again, I'm not saying like I was really put off by it, and I think that the Doctor Strange scenes are actually pretty funny. Chris Hemsworth gets to showcase his like physical comedy a little bit. But at the same time, I feel like they were strong-armed in. And that's in contrast to like Hulk, who is authentically here, and I think that they make it work for the best. Although they did reveal in trailers one of the most surprising aspects of like who Thor's supposed to fight in the Colosseum. They revealed that in the trailer. Probably not a great idea, but
well, you're gonna see it anyway. So
yeah. But I'm just saying, like, I feel like some of those aspects are strong-armed in. And I don't think that it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I think that they could have done a little bit better job of making sure that they did it in an organic way. Speaking of strong-arming in, what did you think about Karl Urban's character? Who
poor Dredd.
Yeah, I know, really. So he plays Scourge, which is like a guy who is just kind of around within Asgard, and he's kind of like showing off to everybody that he's
he's there to be a lackey to
right, basically.
Hela.
I mean, I just feel like his whole character is really kind of unnecessary. It just, I mean,
you wouldn't think the goddess of death needs like a lackey to pal around to be like, you can be my executioner,
right? Like, why wouldn't she just be her own executioner?
Yeah, she enjoys killing people.
I mean, I get that, like, that's part of her legacy, like that's how she started out. But I just feel like his character itself is just very like, in terms of like plotting, the first thing that you're thinking of is like, well, he's gonna redeem himself. There's no like, there's never really a surprise that's like, oh, Scourge is gonna turn totally evil and just be, go against all of Asgard just because.
He's not really evil. He's just cowardly.
Yeah. There's always that redemption quality. There's never a question, and I think that they really wasted some time that they could have spent with Hela on Scourge as a character. It's just, even though I like seeing Karl Urban, even though I thought his Texas joke was pretty funny, it still is. It just seems like he's a waste of time. Basically, and everything's about time. Really, we're talking about a 2 hour and 10-minute film. He's a waste of time, and bringing the time frame up too. I would say that Thor Ragnarok is one of the Marvel films probably that I can think of from the recent time that I felt ran long. I felt like it was taking a long time for this film to get where it's going. And part of that is because of the Trash Planet. It just takes so long to get off of it. I'm like looking at my watch like, how the fuck are they going to resolve
like
Hela?
Half the movie spent on.
Yeah. How are they going to resolve like this central conflict of Hela when they're still on the goddamn Trash Planet? Now, there's one good thing that comes out of Trash Planet, and that's Jeff Goldblum.
It's not one good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's the
greatest
one
thing.
of the best things about Thor Ragnarok. Jeff Goldblum playing the Grand Master of the Trash Planet,
also known as Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, basically. I guess the information coming out about Thor Ragnarok is that some of the scenes, the comedic scenes, were mostly improvised by the actors rather than, specifically scripted. And Jeff Goldblum's character really seems like that's a Goldblumian person. Like someone was like,
this if this came out when we were doing Jeff Goldblum month.
Yeah, it'd be a perfect fit.
Oh, yeah.
Because,
knock cats and dogs right out of there and put this in.
Because, I mean, the Grandmaster is not like it was Grandmaster and they were like, Jeff Goldblum was auditioned for it and they're like, yeah, you know what, let's give Jeff Goldblum the part. It was basically either that it was written for Jeff Goldblum or it wasn't written at all and Jeff Goldblum was just like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. And they were like, yep, go for it. Because this really is one of the Goldblumiest characters. On the Goldblumian scale, how high would you rate this? Because it's pretty high, I would say.
10 out of 10.
Yeah, it's really high. It's like one of the most, he even gets in and is like, wow.
I know. Like,
wow.
I know. It's like he should have been the Mummy. He should have been Tom Cruise's, character in the Mummy because he just is constantly, wow, jeez, hey, like when he was like, oh, what's your name? And Chris Hemsworth, I'm Thor, God of Thunder. It's like, oh, Lord of Thunder, yeah. Ooh, hey, Sparkles, here, listen. Hey. Like snap, and he's like a DJ playing like 80s synth.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah,
ruler of the planet, and
it's great. I mean, and I think some of my favorite moments.
Oh, you know how you were saying how he looks like a band member from Empire of the Sun?
Yeah.
You know what he looked like to me? Either Demolition Man, like a citizen from Demolition Man.
Yeah.
And New Los Angeles, or better yet, shit, now I'm drawing a goddamn blank. The fucking Bruce Willis movie with Chris Rock and
The Fifth Element?
Yes. He looks like he should have been in The Fifth Element.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think some of my favorite parts from Jeff Goldblum, though.
I can't believe I had a brain fart there. That really makes me mad.
As the Grandmaster is when he's in hologram mode. Like giant hologram mode across the city.
Oh, look for my champion!
Yeah, he's the most ridiculous then because it's like everybody has to take this guy seriously. Everybody is like, because he has like this magic wand that turns people into goo, so you have to take him seriously. But at the same time, he's fucking hard to take seriously because he's being a DJ, playing
like at a club,
yeah.
Like, all right, coming up next, guys. It's one of my favorite tunes. It's Depeche Mode, and after that we'll hear maybe a little Crowded House. Here's to go, guys.
Yeah, it's great. I think Jeff Goldblum is one of the funniest parts. So I'm not saying that I don't like the Trash Planet. I like going to the Trash Planet. I think it has some good atmosphere to it. Obviously you meet like the Valkyrie, so it's important. At the same time, I think they do spend too long on it, but not enough time is spent with Jeff Goldblum. So there's always that.
Yeah, no, he's absolutely.
You never get enough Jeff Goldblum.
Another great part from that is the whole fucking Willy Wonka scene. It's like finally.
Oh, that's perfect. The
my God.
opening, the first part when
He's Thor's getting mind fucked and like on the planet, and he's sitting in the chair and they're parodying the fucking riverboat of chocolate scene from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah,
I mean not Charlie, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
So great. And I was like, and I leaned over to him and I was like, Are they playing Pure Imagination right now? It would have been better if they played like Primus's version, to make it more
Pure imagination,
psychedelic and like creepy and shit. But no, that was awesome. That was
a good
hilarious.
scene. It's probably one of the moments that like where Thor Ragnarok really hits as a comedy moment. Because you were saying you often found that Thor Ragnarok's comedy really missed for you. You weren't really a fan of like the kind of, because it's all about the dialogue. Really, it's all about the
awkwardness.
Right.
It's got that Judd Apatow style like awkward comedy. Like
yeah, like the.
And it's not just this film that does the new Ghostbusters and like they like most like it's been the trend for like 10, 15 years now. So it's not the style I have so much a problem with. I just think some of the lines and how they're delivered and some of the things that like the characters do like in comedic situations, I don't really find funny. I didn't think there was like, this is fucking stupid, but I wasn't really laughing. But that's where I said too, I think that kind of has to deal with the environment we saw the film in, because there's only two other people. I think if you saw this in a stacked house or like a half house,
right,
and people are laughing, I'd probably be like, that's funny. But like when we saw Clerks 2, like that was like half
tons of people laughing, at the same jokes.
So it's like like I said, I don't think it wasn't funny. I do think this film does. I think this film does work as an action comedy. It is a funny film. I think though, because the jokes in this are really rapid fire, like just bam, 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 constantly going. I think sometimes it misses more than it hits. But again, that's when you're doing a comedy like this. It's going to happen,
and it's a preference too. Like I liked Taika Waititi's Korg, who's like the rock guy that's been imprisoned in the Coliseum. I thought he was really funny as sort of this wry character who just delivers things, and it's like probably not the best time to say things.
Yeah, no, that's good too. I said, one of the things like the opening scene with like him spinning around on that chain. It's like you can hear him, Why are you saying, "Oh, hold on, let me wait"? You can hear him. Well, you can have him threatening you with Ragnarok while you're spinning around. You're the god of thunder, you're not deaf. You can hear,
Yeah.
That to me like kind of like it's like moments like, because there's moments like that's kind of stick out. I was like, that's not funny. Or like where like Kate Blanchett's like threatening like the army, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll fight you." And she's like, did you not hear what I just said? Like that doesn't wasn't really funny.
Mm. How about Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk? What do you think in Bruce Banner base? What do you think about him?
He's just kind of like, just like, oh, I'm such a nerd.
I think they're doing a weird thing with Bruce Banner.
I know that's like, his character, that like, he's the total opposite of the Hulk, but it almost seems like one, Mark Ruffalo is not a great character actor.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Would anyone ever say like, wow, he really? I've always found him to be really wooden.
I mean, I wouldn't say wooden just as much as like sufficiently dramatic. Like I've never really seen him in like a film such as like a comic book film. You would more of my experiences with him are in more dramatic films.
But even still, like in like I one of the performances from him that always sticks out for me is like in Shutter Island, and it's like he's definitely one of the flaws in Shutter Island is just him being like, "Okay, boss, whatever you say, boss."
I mean, I think I enjoy him as an actor. I just think they're like going in a weird route with Bruce Banner in general. Like I'm not a huge fan of like how they're creating his character outside of the Hulk.
I would like. I mean, to me, it almost seemed like more they should have just gotten someone who's a frat pack member.
Yeah.
Like, okay. So like Paul Rudd would be great for that.
Right.
But he's doing Ant-Man, so he can't do
Yeah.
that. Like, so maybe if you had like Luke Wilson.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Like, wow, you know, or even Owen Wilson, or you know, like somebody like that, like you know, like Steve Carell or somebody, you know, could probably do that.
However, I do think they did a good job with making his likeness into the Hulk. Like, making sure that the actual physical aspect of his face still looks like the Hulk, but also still looks like Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, no, I think as the Hulk, you know, when you see, you know, they got the CGI Hulk and all that, I think I'm fine with that, and I think he's funny and it's good. But I mean, when he's just portraying Bruce Banner, it's like you probably should get somebody else. Like I said, just imagine like Luke Wilson, be like, wow, I gotta fly this plane. Jeez, you know, I don't know if I can do that. It's gonna make me kind of angry, you know.
Yeah. Hey, one thing that we normally bring up too, special effects. What did you think about the special effects in this one? Because there's a lot, really. I mean, I have to admit that I'm glad that they got rid of Thor's hammer in this one. That's coming from me not seeing like Thor 1 and 2, but I felt like a lot of the scenes with Thor's hammer looked really, really, really cheesy.
Especially in the opening, that fight scene. It's like it's almost like shot. I don't know if this got released in 3D, but it's almost like shot like it's supposed to be like, the hammer's coming at you, you know, and like.
Yeah, I think those are the most cheesy. So I'm glad that Thor's hammer is not a focus of this film, because I think, and for one thing, it does have to do with the character himself from the comics. Like, this is just fucking ridiculous. Like, all the things that this hammer can do. It's outrageous.
I know, I spin it and it lifts me up. And I can
exactly.
fly.
But I also don't think...
Oh, you ride the hammer?
Yeah. I mean, I also don't think that it looks that great with the CGI.
No, I mean, look, obviously, it's a Disney Marvel film. The production of this film is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Top of the line. The CGI, though, I mean, obviously in a film like this, it's going to be everywhere. But I do think it's a detriment, though, because it's
definitely hit or miss.
The film looks like it's like, now this is the early 90s version of like Sega CD games, where it's like FMV with like the CGI. I feel like that's like what we're getting with movies now, especially like that have so much CGI involved. And it's like, that's not Cate Blanchett walking across that bridge. It's a CGI bridge, and she's just like on the set. It's just her walking like on a green screen and a green screen background, and it's like
there are definitely
it's like it all looks nice. Some of the action scene stuff doesn't look good at all. Like, again, like the opening fight sequence when he's fighting off all the little searchers, like demon buddies, and he's used like how they like use the hammer and that. It looks bad. But even still, like when it does look good, it's like it's like, all right, my eyes are straining from just staring at nothing but CGI.
Yeah, and I think like some of the scenes themselves, like that, are really, really apparently green screen. Anytime Anthony Hopkins is in this as Odin in a flat, like in when Thor has one of those sequences where he like sees him, and it's not really in reality, but it's more like in a spiritual way. Those are very clearly like CGI clouds behind him and stuff like that.
Couldn't be bothered to be brought to Norway. They had to fucking...
Exactly. Like those scenes very much look like, hey, someone's standing in front of a green screen and we're going to put those clouds behind him. So I think that in some ways it looks good. In some ways you can see like the flaws in it. And I don't know if you can get away with this really, but just like every other superhero movie we've had, there is that scene that happens in total darkness with fucking fire and brimstone all over the place.
And all these films have like the same fucking end fight sequence. This one actually you get to see some daylight, so it's like, wow.
Yeah, you're actually fighting in daylight for a little bit.
Yeah, I know, but I mean...
But like when Surtur comes in as the force of Ragnarok, it's fucking fire and brimstone again. Everything is on fire. Everything is dark. It's all stormy. And like some of those scenes is just hard to watch in terms of like seeing all the CGI and your brain kind of melts.
It's an assault on the senses.
Yeah, it is. It especially that opening fight scene. That opening fight scene, I would say, is the worst offender of being an assault on the senses.
And not only that, they got, Led Zeppelin's Immigrant Song playing, because, we gotta make it as, like I told you, as, like, as stereotypical as possible, like.
And
they should have had, like, after that, when, like, rise back to, like, fucking, when he rise back in Asgard, like, let's play some, like, Rolling Stones, Give Me Some Shelter now, like, woo, add the cool factor up, and
a big thing, too, is that there's just so much use of slow-mo. Slow-mo running and jumping at each other. Okay, we've seen that in superhero movies left and right. We can get rid of the slow-mo jumping. We know that they're going Mortal Kombat style against each other. We got it. We don't need a slow-mo jumping scene. That kind of stuff, it wears on you. Because you're watching this for 2 hours. And 7 slow-mo jump scenes later, you're like, okay, got it. It's fucking epic right now. We got it. It's supposed to be epic.
Bring back Jeff Goldblum.
All right, but one thing we haven't touched on, which we definitely wanted to touch on, is the Mark Mothersbaugh soundtrack. Because surprisingly, that is a standout part of Thor Ragnarok. You wouldn't think so. Superhero movie. It's got to have, like, a brooding soundtrack.
Yeah, no, because as we know from the previous, like Guardians of the Galaxy, and like that's the direction they're going is, to.
Well, even Guardians of the Galaxy is more just like throwback rock hits.
I know, but
it's more synthy.
But that's like part of the. As we've talked about, like this has been like the renaissance this year for movies and like with soundtracks and like aesthetics and styles. Have been like a renaissance of like the neon 80s. Whether it be Atomic Blonde or, this, what have you.
This more so is like a more upbeat, synthy version of what you would expect from Devo. You know what I mean? Like,
I know at the end, you're like, Mark Mothersbaugh did the soundtrack. I'm like, you don't hear him? Like, I knew it like right away, like him dithering away on it's like, yeah, that's
how I would describe this is like Atomic Blonde, Depeche Mode. Kind of depressed and dark.
Ghost in the Shell,
kind of Depeche Mode. Thor Ragnarok, like Rugrats era Mark Mothersbaugh. like more upbeat.
You're expecting Thor to do like a flip and catch a bottle, and you're like, do.
Right, yeah. He doesn't have the boas, like the boa. That's not in here from the synth, but there is a distinctive like vaporwave style synth score to it that's reminiscent of the 70s for sure, like the late 70s, early 80s era of synth. But also, I would say that it has its own uniqueness to it that really doesn't fit in with the other Marvel films. Like, there is a uniqueness to the soundtrack that I think Mark Mothersbaugh brings out.
Like with the Samurai Jack style end credits too.
Yeah,
like it's like
Jack Kirby style, which is what I've seen referenced quite a bit. Jack Kirby artwork style.
Oh, is that what they were going for?
Yeah.
It looked to me like Samurai Jack.
Yeah, and I totally see that, and I think in that regard they did well with that, because like no one needs another like very dark and
gloomy,
dingy, like superhero movie. We're not looking for that. So I think really what Thor Ragnarok does is takes an example from James Gunn, from Guardians of the Galaxy. Mm. It crafts more of a buddy superhero film with more upbeat soundtrack and a more colorful environment, because the trash planet is fairly colorful in its like more regal areas.
It's more like a Star Wars world you'd see.
Yeah. Yep.
With like its congestion and all of that. It's like Coruscant if Coruscant had a massive like meth and crack, epidemic.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean,
or like a Mass Effect planet too.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's very much. And even like the poster artwork is more influenced by Guardians of the Galaxy than something you might find in like the original Thors or Iron Man,
which are much more gray and blue in color. This one's vibrant, luminescent rainbow, which isn't bad. I like it too.
So let me ask you this, because we've tackled a lot of subjects here. do you think that the positive reviews, which for the most part, the reviews for Thor Ragnarok have been overwhelmingly positive, do you think that they're wrong?
No. But I have a hard time grasping with the fact that it's got like a 93 on Rotten Tomatoes. Which I know that doesn't mean overall score. It means,
The amount of positive reviews they've had.
I, find that... Because that's really fucking high.
What I would think... I'm not saying that I think that the positive... I would myself give this a positive review. I'm not saying that I think that a higher score is wrong. I do think they're being somewhat lenient on Thor Ragnarok simply because of the changes that Taika Waititi made to the methodology that they use for Thor. In terms of he's more likable, there's more comedy aspect to it, and it's more fun than what we've received so far. So obviously, it's the better film.
But not only that, we've seen that from previous. This isn't the first Marvel film to be like that. Spider-Man: Homecoming, very comedic, and
I just think they're going easier on this one because of the previous films in the series. They're comparing it. Hey, Thor 1 and 2, not very well liked. Thor 3, actually pretty good. So
well, not that they weren't well liked. They were well liked. They just but considered drab.
I guess I would say the least liked. So I think that they're just being lenient on it, and I do think that they're not seeing some of the, or maybe just ignoring some of the bigger problems within the film itself. And I would say we have the same problems with Doctor Strange. Like I said, weird rising action to the conflict. It doesn't fit in with how you would normally see a structured movie plot. It's very much let's throw a lot of exposition, and then all of a sudden you're just in the conflict. There's no real aha moment, I would call it, where you're like, okay, this is the conflict. It kind of just happens. And I think that, you would think sometimes it's great to be experimental as a movie and not really go by the predefined rules of what does a movie have to be. At the same time, I would say that there's just no emotional impact there. It's kind of the emotional flatlined.
The emotional impact of this film will vary on how much you enjoy the comedy.
Yeah, and I think that just as a plot itself, it's very flatline. It's very it's always actiony. It's always fast moving. So you don't really have a chance to see we're in a lull and then all of a sudden there's a spike, and that often brings more of a energy to the film than if you have constant action, constant conflict happening at the same time. I would argue that you do need some of those downtime moments to really make those other areas pop, and I don't think that happens in this film. And that's part of my problem, is that there was never a moment where I was like, whoa, taken aback, or even surprised, or even pumped for this moment. I would say that a great example of that is the final fight scene between Thor and Hela. It kind of just happens, and you kind of just go along with it.
Yeah, but that's all of these. It's such a by the numbers end fight, and that's one of the things you don't want to be by the numbers, is because all these films have the same ending fight sequence. Protagonist struggles in the fight again. Villain has the upper hand. What do? They come to some epiphany, and are able then to overcome. It's you're watching The Matrix over and over again. Neo, God, he just can't beat Agent Smith, goddammit. And then, he has his epiphany, and he is the one, and he's able to do it, and,
Yeah, I think even in that formula, there's room to surprise, but I would say that Thor Ragnarok does not. It is just very much the same sort of sequence that you would see in any of the Marvel films, and really, even Doctor Strange had a little bit more going for it, because it had that psychedelic nature to it, where the reality of the situation constantly shifted. You had magic happening, you had weird spatial patterns that were happening, illusions and things like that. Whereas Thor Ragnarok is really by the numbers, here's a fight scene, Thor learns to do a special move that he wasn't able to do before, and then that's pretty much it. And then there's a Deus Ex Machina to end the whole thing. So, I guess to answer my question that I posed, I would say that I just think that Thor Ragnarok is not a bad film. I would say that it's very in line with the recent films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, besides Spider-Man, which kind of is above. I would say is one of the better Marvel Universe films that has come out recently. But I would say that there's nothing about this that really blows me away that would really make me put Thor Ragnarok in high esteem. Comparison to Doctor Strange, I would say that they're very much equal. I think I gave Doctor Strange a 7.5 or 7 or something like that. And I think that on the scale of things, that's where Thor Ragnarok winds up too.
So out of 10 Jeff Goldblum DJ parties, what would you give Thor Ragnarok?
Yeah, I mean, I would have to say I would probably give it 7.5. I would say I would give it a 7.5. And part of that is just because I did think that some of the humor did align with my preferences. I did like Taika Waititi's Korg. I thought that was pretty funny. And I think that Jeff Goldblum I love. So the Grandmaster really works for me. And even I think Cate Blanchett had some good deliveries as Hela, even though I don't really like that as a character design for that antagonist. And even Tom Hiddleston too, I think kind of is underrated as Loki, and I think he does a pretty good job with that too, as being the mischief maker in the whole thing. I think he does a good job. Even Chris Hemsworth really managing to pull out a lot of comedy here when Thor's not really known for his personality. So I thought that was good. I like that they got rid of the hammer. I would much rather see Thor without a weapon that looks terrible in CGI than actually have it. And biggest concern was just the lack of conflict that actually amounted to anything, that kind of just flatlines throughout the film. So yeah, 7.5.
I would give, despite my misgivings, I would give it a 7.5 too. I think you're right. If I had to compare it, on the scale of other Marvel films, it's not my favorite. I still think I'd probably say I can't remember what I gave Doctor Strange, but I feel like I'd be on the same level. I still think the first Avengers and the new Spider-Man are probably my two favorite. I do think Chris Hemsworth is good in this. I do think he does have some good comedic lines, and he does a good job at it. And it doesn't come off as forced, watching Chris Pine and Wonder Woman. Just being essentially fucking Chris Pine.
Yeah.
Which your mileage will vary on that. I thought Jeff Goldblum was absolutely terrific and a delight in this, as he always is in everything he ever does. He literally is the best thing in this movie. He's such a, because it's like the cult of Bill Murray. He's got that cult of personality now,
right,
where he can do these kinds of things, and it's just absolutely great. I do think it's a slight waste of Carl Urban in this. Man can do so much more.
Yeah.
But he is, what little time he has, he's good. And Benedict Cumberbatch, I did like. We didn't really talk about Tessa Thompson as the Valkyrie, but she's literally just kind of there to set up contact that Thor would know, on the garbage world that I can't remember the name of the planet.
I honestly don't remember it either.
But she's literally, to me, she's not really.
She's just there, And I don't know if they're trying to make her into a
potential love interest
for Thor, but it seems like it from what we get from the vibes, from the ending and the vibes and everything like that. I think it's good and for buddy comedy, and even they kind of have a little friendship between her and the Hulk when he's in Hulk form. So it's kind of a fun throwback. But yeah, I mean, I just think she's kind of there, and I don't really like that. Like, they try to make a strong female character, but obviously every strong female character has to initially be a bitch. So, you know, it's kind of like very generic.
The whole tsundere thing, you know.
Yep.
Anime. But I mean, so overall, I thought the cast is pretty good. The story, though, you know, very.
Oh, that's true, right, too. I feel bad for Idris Elba, who really gets, like, nothing to do in this film besides being...
Why does he get such a top billing? He literally does nothing.
Idris Elba.
I know, but he does nothing.
I just feel bad for him because he really just gets nothing to do besides be, like, the man on the ground. We didn't even talk about him because he doesn't do anything.
No, you're absolutely right. Well, we didn't really talk about Anthony Hopkins that much either.
Yeah, also kind of relegated to...
He's just, you know, there to, like, kind of like, all right, you know... And that's it.
Yeah.
But, overall, I'd say, like, you know, casting-wise, I thought, you know, it was pretty good. The story, fine with. Though I think the way they, as we talked about, the whole plotting and pacing of things is very helter-skelter all over the place and doesn't really build in a coherent way. Though it's made up for the fact that the comedy and the action that does take place in the film is entertaining, easy to digest, and fun to watch. Though I said some of the comedy in this doesn't work for me. It's not that I don't think it's a fun film. I do think it is funny. I do think it has some fun moments. I think, though, just the fact that it has so much of it, though, it's going to run the risk of your mileage is going to vary on the humor in this film, on who you're watching it with, and whether or not you're going to like a joke, you know, every minute. Just being hit on you, because just like the action, they do the same thing with the comedic pace of this thing. It's at a breakneck pace,
right?
So if some of them are going to land and some of them aren't going to. I love the soundtrack. Always love Mark Mothersbaugh's, you know, music, and especially now with the neon 80s becoming, you know, being brought back. It's some, you know, and the whole synth pop and synth new wave, all for it. I think it's a good, enjoyable film, building up to what they're going to. It does make me finally want to see the Thors that I haven't seen. I think it's a very solid film. I don't think it's a great film, far from it. But I still think it's it definitely deserves the positive reviews it's getting. But
yeah,
I don't think it's like, if you've never seen a Marvel film, I don't think if you watch this one, like, as your first one, you're going to be left like, wow, I gotta see everything. You're probably gonna be like, "This is good. Check out." You know.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if you would be like blown away.
Like, am I psyched now for like the new Black Panther after seeing this? Because that's the next one coming.
Mm-hmm.
Not really.
Yeah.
I'm going to see it, but it doesn't make me like, I can't wait to see the Black Panther's origin story. No, it's like, yeah, we'll see what that leads to.
Yeah. All right. What do we got up on tap for next week? It's a good question because we were kind of left open here. We've got next week to fill, and then the week after that is Justice League. So if the Justice League comes out, actually, I have a movie for next week. Thanksgiving. Terrible movie. And one that should be really fun to cover. And it's perfect because we're not going to have time to do a Thanksgiving movie with Justice League coming out.
Well, there's only one Thanksgiving movie, so it doesn't matter.
Which one is that?
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
No, there's two, actually. The other John Hughes vehicle, Dutch. If you've never seen it, check it out. Ed O'Neill's in it. I just wrote an article about it for Cultsploitation. Check it out.
Yeah, I've never seen Dutch. I know it's on Netflix.
You got to watch it. We watch it every year. We watch Dutch and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles every year.
By the way, this is something I wanted to bring up, because Planes, Trains, and Automobiles has an R rating just because that one F-bomb. This Ragnarok, Disney's paying the MPAA to get a PG-13 for this.
Yeah.
There's like 20 shits in this. It's violent, not gory, but there's a lot of violence and killing in this movie.
There's an impaling. Thor loses an eye.
A lot of cursing.
Yeah.
PG-13.
Surprising.
If I'm telling you, if this wasn't
I don't think shits get an R though. You got to use one F-bomb to,
I think
to get there.
if you use
Actually,
enough,
you get two. You can use one F-bomb. The second one, I think, puts you to an R.
that's stupid.
I think those are the arbitrary rules.
See, this is why like
Because you do get one F-bomb. You can put that like in the most like.
yeah, but that's what Planes, Trains, and Automobiles has. The one F-bomb. It's an R-rated film.
I don't know.
I mean, granted, I was back in
No. There's more than one because he says something like, "You take your fucking shit and fucking get." He says it like 4 times in that one line, so that's where it comes from.
Doesn't matter. But does that like affect? Like to me, that's like again, like I mean, this is why the whole fucking rating system is totally arbitrary and stupid. But I mean, it's like I don't know.
That's where it comes from.
I know. I just found it interesting though because I can't remember the documentary name, but that I talked about the MPAA before on here.
Yeah,
that's one of the things they bring up about how like that film should not have gotten an R. There's nothing about that film that warrants an R except that one scene.
Yeah, where
Steve Martin goes off the handle, and that's what gave it an R. And it's like, wow, that's so arbitrary. Like.
Yeah.
And I think like the rating for this is like pretty arbitrary. I mean, do I think this deserves an R?
No.
No. But just like from watching previous films that have gotten an R, I could see how this film should have gotten an R.
Right.
With this curse. I mean, like I said, the killing in it's not gory or anything, but people are getting maimed, impaled, slaughtered. You see a whole army get slaughtered. Oh, well, they're not human. They're Asgardians, so fuck them, doesn't count. That's what we call cartoon mischief on the video game labels.
Yeah.
For your Mario games. It's E for everyone, but 5 and up. Why? Because cartoon mischief.
Oh, well. So next week, we're going to do Thanksgiving.
Oh, God.
It's going to be ridiculous.
This better not be like Mako.
Terrible.
It better not be Mako bad.
It's going to be terrible, but we're going to do it. It's going to be... We'll see what you think. Because I've seen it, but you haven't, so... We'll see.
Is this by Eli Roth or
no?
No.
He
just did the Thanksgiving.
Right. Yeah. No, this is something entirely different about a killer turkey.
Can we do rubber after that?
Or Poultrygeist?
Is it really the thing?
Yeah, Poultrygeist trauma film. Yeah. All right, so hopefully we'll see you next week for Thanksgiving, and thanks for tuning in for our Thor Ragnarok coverage.
You'll be stuffed with information.
I see what you did.
Yeah.
So you can check us out on iTunes or Stitcher or any other podcast app. Make sure you leave a review and subscribe to us. We're also available on Facebook and Twitter, and we have a website. Blood and Black Rum Podcast.wordpress.com. We're also available on Cultsploitation.com because that's our podcast network. And if you're interested in joining, please let us know. And if you want to suggest any films to cover, or if you want to just leave us a nice little comment, you can email us at bloodandblackrumpodcast@gmail.com, and we will respond to everything. Also, if you're interested in donating and helping keep the podcast running, you can visit us at patreon.com/bloodandblackrumpodcast and leave us a donation. Remember, that's a monthly donation, so if you are donating a lot of money at once, just remember that comes out of your account every month. So don't overdo it, I guess I would say. Thank you for listening. We will be back next week with Thanksgiving and I think it's our 94th episode next week. So we're nearing 100 episodes. It's going to be coming up quick.
Ooh, around Christmas time.
Yeah, that's right. So hopefully you'll stick around as we make it to the 3 digits of podcasting. See you next time.
Take care.